Hello, everyone. Uh, okay, our guest has joined, so we will start. So first, this is WTM Ethiopia, and I'm here with you. I am Aida Aman. I am event in social media lead at WTM. So first, I'm gonna give you a rundown of the workshop. First, we're gonna have. I'm gonna talk a little bit about WTM and what we have been doing. Secondly, I will invite our guest. He can introduce herself and then he can move to the workshop. And then we will have two guests. I will invite them and we will wrap up. So, first, WTM. Uh, if you have never heard of WTM, it's a global Google initiative. It works on especially empowering women in tech by organizing different types of events or hackathons or workshops like this one. So, for the previous 2 or 3 weeks, we have been organizing workshops. And this time we are organizing a workshop on UI UX. So our guest is here who's going to be leading the workshop. Our guest, please introduce yourself and then you can continue the workshop.
Okay, thank you. Hi everyone. Just give me a minute to get my slides up so that I can start and introduce myself as well.
All right, take your
Yeah,
time.
just a minute. Yeah. Okay. I'm not able to. Oh, I can. Okay, no problem. Um, yes, please let me know when you can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see it. It's
Can
visible.
you see my screen?
Yep, I
Okay,
can.
great. Okay, so I'll just turn my camera on as I introduce myself, and then maybe because of connection issues, I don't know if I will keep it on throughout, but in case am lagging or anything, you let me know so that I switch it off. Um, yeah, so hi everyone, can you see me? I don't know.
Uh, Not yet on my side.
No?
Can you
Okay.
guys
Oh, you
hear?
can? Okay, great.
Okay.
I don't know because I can't see myself on the call.
No, I don't.
um, yeah, but if you can see me, that's fine. Hi everyone. So I'm happy to be here today. My name is Mercy, and I'm going to take you through this part of the workshop today. I know you have been going through some series of workshop, but I'm going to take you through a design part of product development life cycle. So the way you create a product just from scratch to design, then to make like producing it and until the market. So today I'm gonna deal more about the design phase. So a little about me. My name is Mercy Kwambai. I am a Kenyan. I'm currently in Kenya, but for the last 2 years, I've been living outside the country. And what I do, I design solutions that are intuitive, interactive, and efficient, easy to use. So that's what I do these days. My journey started back when I was an undergrad. I studied computer science for my undergrad, then worked as a software engineer for three to 4 years, and then I fell in love with the UX world, and that's why I transitioned to product and to UX. So what I did 2 years ago, I quit my job and I went abroad to study a master's in human computer interaction and design. And that's what I did. I'm almost done with my with my program. And something interesting is that currently I am doing my thesis in designing games to help like older people with cognitive who have cognitive disabilities, to help them using games that have been recommended by psychologists. So that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm also doing a product design internship at Microsoft here in the Kenyan, the Africa Research Center. So that's what I'm doing right now. And I am passionate about UX research and accessibility design. And I think you will see it through my slides. And also, I am part of the Women Tech Makers. I am ideally the lead chapter in Kenya, and I also match as the mentor for the East Africa Women Tech Makers ambassadors. So yeah, that's about me. So I hope this session is more interactive, and I hope you will learn and feel free to ask questions or write questions in the chat as we go on. Yeah. So today, since product line to product design is a really long process, this is more design thinking methodology and my experience. Then I'll do a bit framing the process, design systems and accessibility and yes, yeah, as I want to interactive, let me know like who is in dent, or are you a UX designer, or are you just interested in UX, and what is your current experience level with design. So are you a beginner? Do you have some experience? Or are you like an experienced designer? So kindly like just type in the chat maybe your name so that I get everyone's perspective. Yes, so I will wait for some few people to write in the chat. Uh, Maybe I can write mine. Mercy. Hi, Ida. Nice to meet you and welcome. I think this is going to be really helpful for you. Hi, Naomi, student, couple design project. Welcome. Yeah, and well, Mary. I hope I said your name correctly. Yeah, welcome all of you. Yes, so I think I have gotten a few people, beginner, a student, yeah, and a lot of AI note takers. So that's nice. Yeah, so welcome all of you. I hope, hi Gabriela, welcome. You're an undergrad student. Hi Selam, welcome as well. Beginner from scratch. So I think this is really going to be helpful to you guys. And please ask a lot of questions. And in case something is not clear, you can always ask. And I'll leave some time at the end for an interactive session where we can get to talk and learn more. So welcome all. So, and I will have some activities as well inside the slides. So it will be a time for us to interact as well. Um, so, question question, why do we think design matters? So I think design matters because design decisions impact our product success. If you get the design right, you will be able to succeed in your product. And because we design for people, so good design helps to solve real problems for real people. And I think I will give examples as I go through the slides. So I just wanted to make a case for this. And design bridges the gap between just a concept and a market ready product. So this is a distinguishing factor where if you have good design, it will just not be a nice problem solving idea you have, but it will be a market ready because design goes all the way through understanding the users, understanding the market, being able to design something that people would use, and in the end, it will be a market ready product. So this is why I think design really matters. Even in a big software engineering company, design really matters. Yes, and so just to introduce us to what design is, and especially what user experience design is. So user experience design is a design where like designers put the user at the center of the design process in order by understanding their needs, their goals, and their behaviors. So by understanding these three crucial things is where you can say you have done a user-centered design, where you have ensured that you're not just trying to say just solving a problem. You have this nice idea, but you don't know who the users are, their needs, their goals, and even their pain points. And it goes through a process called iterative design because it's a process, and the designers constantly test and refine their design based on feedback because we are centering our design on the users. So we depend on them to iterate, to test, and to refine what we have so that we ensure that the design we have is centered and from the users. And also a big factor of UX design is accessibility. We ensure that designs are accessible to users with all abilities, and anyone can be able to use your product. So that's a really good mark of a good UX design. And consider also usability. So a product should be easy to use and understand, regardless of the user's experience or technical expertise. I think I did a research once to understand like how older people use WhatsApp. And I think in Ethiopia also use WhatsApp. So it was very interesting to learn that older people don't get what the voice recording icon is. They don't understand the tabs that have been introduced on WhatsApp. So such things are things to consider while designing for users. But we just know users are just more than users. They're not just users, they are also human beings. So there are so many things that are involved in a user that is more, when we talk just about users alone, we forget that they are also human beings with emotions, with lives. They live in different contexts. For example, now I am in Kenya currently, and I was in the Netherlands for 2 years. So that's very different context for designing people there, and even now designing people for people in Ethiopia. There are contexts and cultural issues that you need to consider. So that's why we have something called human-centered design. So this is goes beyond just user-centered design. You see users as humans as well. So here is where researchers and designers attempt to cooperate or learn from potential users of their products or service, which for what they're developing. So it's just not only the user part, but the economic, social issues, and economic and potential issues, and even ethical. And this is very important. And we have seen big companies fail at this, and companies that start up and you think they are going to break the chain, but lose the human aspect of it and then fail. So I will also give examples of this as I go on. And so, just to introduce to you what human-centered design really is. So it goes through a process which is iterative, where the first part is where designers or researchers get stories and do deep ethnographic research. Ethnographic research means going to actual communities and places. For example, if you're designing for, I don't know, a workplace solution, you actually go to the workplace, sit with these people, understand their processes, and just observe what they do so that whatever you design is sensible to them. And then sense making, understand what type of emotions or senses that they have, and mapping with like drawings to know this user does this in the morning, then does this in the like midday and in the evening. And then after understanding that, and it's called like empathizing with users, now from the basis or of the users or our human the human aspect, defining this, so defining the needs and the problems that these people have, and framing it with something called how might we questions. So if you're designing someone something for like maybe the workplace, you go and understand how they do their work, where they log in, how they report their work. Then from that you will find problems from that. And then from the user's problems is when we will come and define by asking ourselves, how might we maybe improve the process of submitting the project reports in a company. That's just an example. And then now from framing the how might we questions is when we ideate. Here's now, we started with the user, we framed things of ideas from other field, or even co-designing with actually those people in the the people that you're trying to design with. And from that we get ideas, several ideas, play around with it, and um, look for like maybe three that might work. And then from that you choose the ideas that could meet the needs, and you make prototypes. So I will explain in a bit what prototypes are and how they come to be. Yeah, so you make the prototypes from the ideas that you defined and you had understand from the users. And then from that you check the prototypes with the people, with the user groups that you're designing for, if it actually makes sense to design this thing for them. And then this cycle goes again and again. So you do that several times, and it's very iterative because you don't want to go developing on a product for 2 years and then you take it back to the users. They're like, oh, we don't need this anymore. Things changed because culture changes, context changes, and everything. So that's what human-centered design is all about. And it's really centered on the people and has a concern for the users, like who they are, understanding their needs and their points and their experiences, and also understanding their context. As I mentioned, something that works in Kenya may not work for Ethiopia. Something that works in the US may not work in Kenya. It could work, there could be an extension of it, but really getting a deeper understanding of the context is when you can be able to curate a product that is really context specific. And as well, a big part of human-centered design is called participatory design, where you involve users in this. And I will share an example of what I'm working on right now, part of something called a code design or a code creation. And I will give you an example of how this will actually make impact in a product that I'm working on currently. And then, as I mentioned as well, there's something called ethnography, and this is really understanding the environment, the culture, the everything of a product. I read a paper once where users, where a company really was designing, I think, toothbrushes for kids, and they didn't understand how kids brush their teeth, and how how the toothbrush works. So they went and observed children, how they would easily put their toothbrush in the water in the tap, and then how that water would spill, and they didn't like that. So they designed something that would be able to help that. And that's because they went actually observe people in their environment and how they live their lives every day. And I can also give an example later on. And then the empathy part, as I mentioned in the previous slide, the ability to understand and share the feeling and experiences of the users. and perspective of others as well. And this is a great first step of really understanding users' needs. And then human-centered design, a big part of it is involves like a continuous loop of research, because some people have implemented something and it worked or did not work. So this type of research is really important for human-centered design. Yeah, but it seems like a lot of things. It seems like a lot of work as well. So why do we do all this? Why spend time in researching and doing all these things in order to understand the users? Why do we need to do all these things? So first of all, because it improves user satisfaction and engagement, and this is a very big deal if we want to create products that are long term, that are just not for a small period of time, but it's a product that needs to live for a long time. So there's this company called Idea, which I put the logo at the bottom. It's a renowned consultancy firm that has a long history of incorporating human-centered approaches to their design process. And you can just go and see their website and just see the projects they do and how much impact it gives. As well, it's like UX or HCD design enhances usability and product success. I can give an example of Uber, which in 2016 they had an app, and they completely redesigned it based on user research, because users were having difficulty with their old app, and this new design was a success, and it helped Uber to attract more users and increase their market share. And then the last one is cost and time savings. An example of this is a human-centered design process to design Xbox One, which was like a successful as and it was focused on addressing the needs of gamers, like when they game, how they game, what the interactions they want. And so they were able to create a console that was more successful than the previous product that they had. And just this as an example of companies that previously failed to understand the users, the community many years ago, did not consider the culture, the context, how people did not appreciate having something on in the front of their faces at that time. And yeah, there were also potential, like price was a big deal some few years ago in Silicon Valley in the US, and they wanted to they were saying they have this nice producing juice producing machine, and they faced a lot of criticism when it was discovered that it was just so expensive and unnecessary, since whatever the juicer would do, someone would actually do it by hand. So if they had done like their deep user research and know like the pain points of people, this would not be a big fail. And then another famous example is MySpace. I think, I don't know how many people know about MySpace, but it was like a Facebook for those many years ago, and it had the potential to succeed. But the design of the site was very difficult and confusing. And at that time, people wanted simple things. They just wanted to send messages and all, because people in the early 2000s, what they used like desktop computers, and so that was so these are just examples on limited of companies. I don't know if you know Google Plus, or yeah, these were just devices that ended in tears. Yeah, but we also companies that did well, like the iPhone, how they have continuously tried to improve usability, having it minimally and a smooth user experience, as well as Airbnb has been like a standard of human-centered design, how they ensure that things are clear, easy navigation, and even trust, like things like ratings and such things, which people really use. As well as Spotify, they have created like a consistent user-friendly interface with new things like personalization. And I don't know if you guys enjoy the India music rap for everybody, and that was just an idea that came up. I think after the session I can share a link to a user study on how they created the personalization options for Spotify, which is actually based on user-centered design. Yeah, so that's just examples um, of how why it is important and how and why it works. And so what, because we learn these things, we need to involve people in the design process, and we also need to consider the more than just the user aspect and see them as humans that interact with other people, live in different contexts, and this is really important. And then we can also research on previous work so that we don't do mistakes that have been done over and over again, and also keep it simple. I always tell my friends that if you keep it simple, if something that can be used by a baby or an older person can work for everybody. So if you design for simplistic and minimalistic user interfaces, this is really important. And so considering economic factors, since yeah, we design products for profit and for companies. Yeah. Um, Yes, so I have talked for quite a bit, and a I have a practical activity for us, which I hope we can all engage in since we have seen how users are important and all. I have a small activity for us. So for this activity, it's just an ideation activity where I'll present you with a case, and then you will share ideas on the chat, and then we will discuss, or like I will help you think through what may go wrong if not considering human-centered design. And so this is the task. So I would like you to think on, you have been given a task to design a fitness application. So what do you think you will design, or what would you consider in your design? Yeah, so I'd like us to like engage in this. So just write in the chat, what do you think you will design, or what will be your first ideas, or what would you do? So you can just say what I will do, this and this, or what I will design, this and this. And then I will give us like 5 minutes, I think, and then or less. So depending on like what you would consider, or like the responses I get in the chat. So yeah, just type away what just comes to your mind. Where would you start? What else can you write? Yeah, just go crazy on, you have been given this task on designing a fitness application. So what do you think you will design? Yeah, so I wish I had some background music, but yeah, I'll give us, let's say, 2 minutes, and then yeah, go crazy in the chat. Thank you, Fedoras, using an energy colors. If I may ask, what is energy colors? Thanks, Abigail. First start designing the prototype, right? You can be more descriptive, like what is the right prototype, or yeah, and how do you get the prototype right? Like, yeah. Yeah, I'm waiting for more responses. Ermia says, I will focus on what healthy body looks like and how fitness helps become productive. Naomi, maybe an application that won't turn off or sleep while you are following a workout. Nice. Dora's add a calendar to check the user streak. That's really nice. Mel make it. Add a progress tracking page. That's nice. Thank you. Ruth, incorporate personalization. I think that's very important as well. Um, yeah, that's really nice. And then study on how users use their phone in the gym. Good one. And then goal setting. That's really nice because I think fitness also involves someone wanting to achieve something. And then Abigail, a minimalist home screen showing daily progress, calories, burnout, workout schedule, and motivational tricks. Gabriela says that keep the interface simple and to the point, where it is not blunt but still engaging enough to use, and make sure that it has different fitness goal to reach different target groups. Okay, that's nice. We wait for two more. Okay, let's see what we have now. Deep, where was I? Make the users have profile to use and track everything. Aida says, I'll start with the deep UX research to identify pain points. Nice. Once you have that insight, move on. Yes, that's really nice. And then first prepare a product based on that. Nice. I really like the engaging engagement in the chat. Yeah, so what I'll do, I'll just make us think even more. So first of all, we have agreed that we need to understand the users, right? So you go back, research if it's whatever fitness it is. First of all, we should realize that fitness is very different. It's not just about the gym, it's not just about the food, it's so wide. So you need to know also what kind of fitness you're designing for. Then when you have discovered that, go research, talk to people, observe people, and see this, because there's some factors that we need to consider. So again, is it about exercise, or is it about food, or is it about, I don't know, healthy living or fit, like sleeping patterns, like what kind of design is this? And then is it an unrealistic or unattainable maybe weight goal? If someone wants to achieve this in like a week, and that's impossible, so you need also to think about these things. What about genetic issues? Because someone might have a genetic issue that affect their fitness levels or their fitness conditions. So do we consider this? Also, something about body shaming, because I feel like fitness sometimes really values people to be slender or slim, but does that body shame or affect the other people who are not like that? And they're like, will there be like inappropriate exercise recommendations depending on the kind of fitness that you're focusing on? So you also need to consider these things. About personalization, I think people also mentioned it in the chat. Cultural issues. So for example, if you want someone to do an exercise that is not appropriate in their culture or something like that, depending on where you're designing this solution for. And then also accessibility features. Do we consider, like, if we're designing for fitness and it's about lifting weights or running in the treadmill, and someone is maybe cannot be able to move, or is in a wheelchair, so what happens? How will you consider them in their design? So I hope this is an opportunity for you guys to see the possibilities and the great, like how wide the graph is. So you need to do your research and really define what you're doing very specifically. um yeah, so thank you for engaging me in the chat. Yeah, and I'll just give you an example that I read previous that was very interesting. So that this company, it's a supermarket. I just read their case and it was very interesting for me. So they used to send paper mails, like to send to people with offers and discounts and everything, or they would give it in the shop. Like if you leave out the shop, they would give you a paper with discounts and offers. And And they were losing customers because people would not know these offers, or they would just take the paper or not take the paper, or even when they're receiving the mail. It's a European market, so they used to receive a lot of mail, so they would not open their mail and they would not know about these offers, so nothing was returning because they were trying to gain customers from this. And so I don't know if we have time to do this, but I thought I would ask you guys to tell me like what you would do if you are presented with this problem. Like, it was inconvenient for them to receive paper offer mails, and they were losing customers. So I'll just present on what they did, and I hope this can help us think around it. So what they did, they just wanted to make it convenient for users to shop in their stores by using these offers, right? So they changed the approach and focus on intense research. So they realized paper does not work, but we want people to know these offers and to come back, and for it to be a convenient shopping experience. So they created an app where they could pay the app, and from the app they could get a discount from paying from the app. So seeing now the discounts are not in just the papers, but the customers who come time and time again. And they personalize the discount in that if you buy a lot of bread, you will get discount on bread. If you buy a lot of, I don't know what, you will get your own personalized discounts. And they created competitions where people would earn points or something in the app and gamified it, and then they focused on value for customers, and they would try to understand like what this user wants and how can we create value for them. And then they use a lot of data to inform their processes. As I mentioned, if you buy bread, they will give you offers for bread. If you always shop maybe at the end of the month, the offers will come around like the 25th of the month, because it's based on what the users do or the users want. Yes, and so things to consider in like such a task, like to ensure like the language is correct, the communication channel, like how do you send an offer? Do you send like an app notification, or do you send a message, or do you send an email? And what's the context? And how accessible it is, and yeah, so different things to consider while doing that. Yeah. um Yes, so I think the first part, I wanted to take such a long time explaining that, because that's the really foundation of what UX design is and what human-centered design is all about, so that when we go through the next phase of like my slides, you'll be able to understand where this is coming from, and it's going to be helpful for you. And so from now that we know that we need to consider our users, they're important in our design process, and we need to consider more than just the users. We need to know their contexts, because they are actually human beings who live in a context, in an environment. And so when you have ideated that, you have defined your problems, as we have mentioned, you need to sketch your idea. You have brainstormed. So now you come from something called wireframes to high fidelity designs. And this really is a short process where you scratch or you draw the basic concept of your idea or your product, and then you defined it to something called a wireframe. So a wireframe has like components and things and sketches, or like the higher, not just paper sketching, it's just a computer generated or designed interface where people can actually see and see where things should be, maybe how big it should be, and exactly, and things like that. And then creating a mock-up or a visual graphic content of what you have wireframed, and then from that you will be able to create a detailed visualization of your product, which is a prototype. So there are tools to do this. In my work I use Figma and something called Protopie, and I will give you links, resources later on how to access these things. But yeah, I would challenge you to just go online and on YouTube. There are so many videos on how to prototype, and it's a good first step, because we mentioned in the human-centered design process, it's an iterative cycle. So you create this, take it back to the users, they say that I don't like this is a bad color, go back, change it, bring it back to them. They're like, oh, but this button, or we don't need this process, we need if I want to click something, I click it and it takes me to this. So this is a quick way of designers validating their ideas or validating the solutions that they have. Yeah, so that's how you go from sketching to an actual prototype and test it with users. And then since we are prototyping, we need to consider design, something called design system. So because maybe you'll be working in a big company or not, or since we have, I think in one of the slides I mentioned the importance of research, like just researching what other people have done and how things are implemented. If you have noticed, in the apps that we use for calling, the ending call button is always red, right? And the receiving a call is always green. There's a design decision on why these things are the way they are. There's a design decision why the close button is where it is, and why maybe submit button is always on this other side. Like there's always research that has been done on why these things are the way they are. And this, like a few couple years back, that really big fuss about design systems. So design systems are how we design things by creating consistency and enable like designers have a collection of like reusable components, guidelines, and standards that ensure consistency across a product's user interface and as well the user experience. So this involves designers coming up with reusable components, because if you work in a team and you're working on a product, you would want maybe the new designer joining, knowing that this is the button we use, this is the color we use, and this is the font we use. And so a design system is like a bible for designers, because this is where you get everything that you need for your designing work. And so it includes reusable components, styling guides, design principles and documentation, and development guidelines. And I think at the end I have some resources for you where you can see and explore this kind of design systems and how they look and how they work. Yeah, so, and this is just an example where you will see like a design system has all these details. For example, color, this is the color we use for our primary color, and with the color codes as well. This is the button we use, this is when it is inactive, and these are the fonts we use, and these are our icons just for consistency and scalability. Yeah, so this is very important to have as a designer as well. And even of late, there have been many roles opening up in big tech companies where someone is just deployed to create a design system or has experience with making design systems, because it's a really important factor in the design world. Um, Yes, and the benefits, as I mentioned, just for consistency, there will be a unified look and feel across all products, and it reduces design and development time because you can reuse components. If someone has already made or designed a button for you in the company, you don't need to go back and do it again, and that makes things to be efficient, and it also makes it easier to manage and grow and design and develop as well. And also with good design systems, you're able to, if you're a designer in a team where you have a designer, you have software engineers and a product manager, it makes it easier to transition. If you're a designer, you have designed this thing, and then it needs to go back to the software engineers to actually develop or code it. It makes it easier since they would know this component is from our design system, so they will know which to use, how to use it, where to use it, and what types of variations to have with it. Yep. And again, so this is another aspect which is very important. Again, I feel like 1 hour is not enough, so I will just go through just highlights to make you guys think and see the many possibilities, and then I'll give resources at the end where you can go and learn more. And if maybe you would like me to come back again to talk about a specific path or a specific thing that stood out, then we can do that. So another great important aspect of human-centered design is accessibility. Since we are designing for people, for who are human beings who live in different contexts with different abilities, with different problems and experiences and interactions, we need to consider accessibility. And as I mentioned before, if we design with like a simple person in mind, if we design maybe for a kid or an older person who does not need complex things, if we design for that, we have designed for all people. And so like accessibility is the process of designing products and services that can be used by the widest range of persons with different capabilities under the widest range of context. And I know this is very difficult to achieve, and because it is difficult, we have something that are called accessibility guidelines, and I'm going to share that. So there are principles that have been given to us that enable us to design with people in mind, with a wide variety of people in mind. There are design principles which needs to be achieved in that design needs to have to be able to be people need to use it in an equal manner. There need to be flexibility in use. For example, if you have a website, someone who is using a screen reader needs to access this website. It needs to be simple and intuitive because there's something called cognitive modes, where like the older you get, the less information you can process in your mind. So we need to design with this in mind, that we don't need to have a lot of things in the screen, just simple and intuitive instructions as well. Then perceptive information, and an important one is also tolerance for error. If someone by mistake fills in the wrong ID, maybe wrong information in a field, in like a form, they need to have an opportunity to edit it, or if they submit it by mistake, they need to have like a pop-up that asks them, are you really sure you want to submit this, so that it's like less tolerance for error. And then low physical effort and silent space approach and use. So this I will share, like in my resources I will have more information on how you can learn more about how to design for these things. And so as I mentioned, there are guidelines that are given to help us as designers to design for many people, to design for all. So, and these guidelines ensures inclusivity, so people with different disability to access, leading to a wider audience. And then right now, many countries are require accessibility in their law in the US and in Europe especially. So this is something we really need to learn even here in Africa, and it to improve better user experience, because accessible designs improve usability for all users and just not those with disabilities. Um, yeah, and so this design principles for let me just do this. Yes, let me use this side. So there are design principles for designers. So they are in 4 phases, and I will give resources at the end to learn what these phases are and how to test them. For example, your design needs to be perceivable, so people need to see. And so because there are people who are differently able who can't see, so you need to provide alternative text for images, and even ensuring adequate contrast. So you can't have like a green and a red thing together at once. So you need to consider this as well. And then there's another factor called operable, where it needs to be simple to use. Like the navigation needs to be easier, and like the way that something needs to be done like 5 minutes and someone is slow to click on the button in 5 minutes, you need to extend time for them so that it can be simple to use. And as well, it needs to be understandable, and providing easy to understand language and consistent navigation, like in different web pages. Just an example, if you have a different web pages, if you have the home button at the left, it needs to be at the left in all of your pages. You don't need to have a home button here and then in the next page you have it in another place. And then the robust one was added recently, where you need to ensure all your website or information is easily accessible or compatible with people with assistive technologies, because there are people who can't can't hear, so they need like subtitles in videos or something like that. Yeah, so this is just a type of principles for designers and enables us to design things that are accessible. And these are just some common guidelines. For example, to have a text contrast, as I mentioned, you can't have red and green in the same like picture and text, and then having alternative text. And alternative texts are very important. I will share later on something called ARIA, ARIA. So I think if someone is a software engineer here in the group knows what that is. But coming to learn and appreciate what ARIA does, really important in a designer's life. And then ensuring keyboard navigations are simple, form accessibility, and headings and structures. I think for people who have been in a computer science school, you would know what like HTML taggings are, and maybe you might ignore this, but if you're using a screen reader and something is a heading, it will tell you that this is the heading. So that enables people who are differently able to access such resources or information. Yes, so I'm almost coming to the end of my presentation, and then I will just give us time to ask questions and interact maybe for the last 20 minutes. And so like now we have learned this, we have learned the HCD process, we have learned how user-centered design is important, and considering these things like from sketching to ideation to prototyping. We have seen how design systems are an important thing, and we have also seen how we need to design for all people. Yeah, so we need to design for products that ensure usability and effectiveness for a specific group of people. And we do this by conducting deep user research and upholding ethical principles and engage with the target users throughout the design process. So it's a really good practice that you involve the user throughout the process. And I think here's where I'll give you an example. So one of the projects I am working on is a project that helps farmers through a chatbot. For example, in Kenya specifically, we have people called extension agents who are like government officers who help answer like farmer questions. So they're experts in farming, and they help farmers in their daily practice of farming. And so, but in Kenya, we have very few of these people. We have one extension agent to 1,000 farmers. So many farmers don't get access to this help, don't get access to government resources, and all because of this 1 to 1,000 ratio. So we're trying to create like an application, which is like a chat where it's an AI application that has knowledge about farming in different contexts. So in each area, the farming that is carried out there, so it has been trained with all this knowledge. And so we have this product, but we are trying to involve users to know how they ask questions, when they ask questions, what kinds of questions they ask, what kind of information they would like to receive. Because you can just ask like, my chicken died yesterday, what should I do? But you need to provide context on what happened to the chicken, what time, how old they were, such things. And also the farmer would want to know, because they have died, so what should I do? How should I dispose these chickens that have died? What should I do? Should I clean? Like actually steps that the farmer can take action from, same as what the farming advisors would tell them. So we are doing something called a design workshop where we meet with the farmers, we ask them questions, they create questions that they want to know about, they also tell us like what kind of information they would like to get from the app, and how often do they need reminders, do they like how structured or how actionable the responses should be. So that's an interesting way of seeing how you can engage with the target users, like all through the process of developing such a solution. Because it can be a great solution in the end. You think you have this perfect idea, but then the farmers feel like, we don't even like typing questions. We want to talk to actual people, and you have spent time designing this product, but people don't use it because of different contexts, different cultures as well. Yeah, so that's just an example that and how engaging with target users throughout the design process is an important thing, and prioritizing inclusivity as well, so including different people and different abilities throughout your design process, and also consider the emotional abilities and cultural and economic context. This is very interesting as well, because maybe like I can give an example for the Kenyan context. People like verbal or communicating verbally, but in the US or in Europe, people like texting or messaging, and that's how they do their life. So if you bring a product that is majorly based on the US market to Kenya, people will want to speak, people would want to talk to each other, and that's how um, they they interact, and that's how they form trust, and such things really affect our design of our product. Yeah, so that's how we
I'm sorry, you all. I think she's struggling with her connection. Let's give her like 5 minutes and she will come back hopefully. No, I think the problem is on her side. Let's just wait for like 5 minutes. Okay, our guest is back.
hello,
I think we can start now.
sorry, hello,
Yeah, can you hear
can you
us?
hear me?
Of course, yeah, we can.
Yes,
You
I
can start
can
now.
now hear you. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, can you see my screen now?
Yeah, yeah, it's visible now.
Oh, great. I think I lost my connection. We need to start with like increasing the design as we know, and then create consistency and efficiency and help us to map all these things together, and then we accessibility is not optional in this design, it is for everyone. And then we have to consider the context and all situations. Yes, so we can, I don't know, should we tackle questions right now, or should we have this bonus scenario or a bonus challenge, and then we can do questions later? What do you think?
I think we can do the
Or
challenge first.
okay, can you hear me now? Sorry. I'm sorry, I lost my connection again. Yeah, so this is the bonus task. So we have a bonus task where you are tasked as a designer to create a collaborative task management tool for remote teams. So the task is now to design an intuitive and inclusive platform that allows remote team members to manage tasks, share progress, and communicate seamlessly. So I would give you 5 minutes now to tell me the 5 steps that you would take. You're given this task of design an intuitive and inclusive platform that allows remote team members to manage tasks, share progress, and communicate seamlessly. So give me the first 5 tasks that you would do in order to do this. Yeah, so go crazy in the chats, and yeah, chat away and tell us like what would you do. And if you want to be more descriptive as well, you can be descriptive, but like at least like 5 steps that you would take. The chat. Yes, so I'll be just checking your chats and seeing what you put in the chat. I wish I had a timer or music in the background to help you think aloud. Fedora's good story from users, observe how they engage and map. Nice, I really like that one. Yeah, so waiting for more responses for this as well. And also as you respond, think about questions or anything that I mentioned during the session that needs clarification. Yeah, or any question you have as well. And I'll be happy to answer as we near the end of the session. Yes, Fedora's define the needs, problems, and check how they report. That is nice. Daniel, making it clear, simple, and precise and neat. Nice, I like that one. Yemi, real-time collaboration, integrated communication, task assignment, and deadlines, progress tracking as well. That's really important. And then Briniam discuss the team members and their needs, a very important aspect. And Mia's dashboard for task delegation, project or time deadline, chat room for users, nice, analytics and tracking project timeline, nice. Gabriela, conduct thorough research to understand the type of teams, industry using the tool, and also to assess the experience of the potential people working remotely. Nice, that's nice. Fedora's his third point, ideate from users and get ideas and play around with it. Very important because the users will also tell you like what they want and how it should look like, because maybe you don't even come from a remote working team, so you don't know how remote works. So I really like that one. And then the next point, interview them on how they want to make engagement, voice, video, text. Very, very important as well. For Dora's fourth point, prototype, check the design in life. Really important. And examine the design and check if it really works. Yeah. And if you find it doesn't work, go back and start again. And if it works, improve it, talk more to users, and the cycle continues. Yeah, so I don't know if I should wait for some more. Yeah, good. And then Gabriela, this can go hand in hand with number one, but I'd like to build ideas on their responses to keep reliable practices, introduce new useful features. Very important. So there are features that are maybe cultural or just industry practices that you want to keep. And also because we need to innovate every day, you need to introduce new features that are useful. And again, if the users say no, yeah, the users are the one who we are designing for, so it's not about us as designers. And then implement your ideas and test. So I really like that one. Briam also says create a mock-up as his second point, with the necessary components based on their needs. Again, important. And then Abigail, interview remote team members. Very, very important as well. And then Tarek King says research on what features needs to be included and how could the platform can be more engageful and to better build the good platform that has every feature. Really nice, so that you have like this holistic product that you can even scale it up, because if you just create it for one remote team members and it works, it can be like a scale up and you can even start your own product from this. And then would be to repeat the cycle. Yes, Gabriela, thank you for that. It's an iterative thing, so it goes down and down. And it seems like a tedious process. It seems like a whole load of work. But if you get it right, if you get the human-centered design process right, you will have such a good product that is, of course, it's useful, it's convenient, it's simple, and people use and love it. So it looks like a lot of work at the start, but if you get that right, it can go all the way. Like the examples I gave of companies that failed and companies that succeeded, it just because they got the users right. I think I can't look right now as you ask questions on the article on how Airbnb became such a good product, and even it's like a rubric of how people do bookings and do like reservations and renting of homes. It's like a standard because how they invested a lot in their user research as well. um yeah, so Hildana says understand the problem, ask and set goal, researching, analyzing the schedule, core features. Very important to prioritize the features because there can be so many, but some are like later on or tertiary features or secondary features as well. And then wireframing, and then Tarek says ideate different approaches for the final product. Really good. And then Ermias, something really important that I forgot to mention today: research on competitors to find pain points on their users. That can be a very good starting point, because if you don't have any idea of where to start and even the questions to ask people, you can do a benchmark on competitors and find what they lack or what people complain about and use it for your time, your product or your solution. And then, so we're almost to the close. Develop prototype that is simple, really nice, Daniel. Yeah, thank you for noticing what Gabriela mentioned. And then receive feedback and go back to your first place. Very important. And then Briam says go over and refine the components with the users and get creative and with additional features and prototype and test and deploy. Yes, very important. Yes, so thank you for engaging with me. I will now take your questions as I do the last slide. So if you have any questions, please type so if we have a good time to answer them. Um, Yeah, so I will share. I don't know why my slides are looking funny, but let me just reload it for a second. So I have shared these slides with the organizer, so they will share it with you. So I have just some resources for you to check with. You can use it. These are books that I really love for human-centered design. Especially this one is like my best book of all time. And then there are courses on Interaction Design Foundation or Coursera that you can use, or even LinkedIn that you can use to upskill or gain these things that we have talked about today. And then and then there's this website called IDEO or NNG website, and then there's Mobin, which has like design inspiration. And then I recently found this website called the Collective Garage that has like a lot of resources on design systems and all. And I always read articles on design that are found in Medium, which have really impacted my design journey. um yeah, and resources to check out on design systems. I have this list on design tools and communities where you can grow and see inspiration, or even attend classes or master classes where people um, teach design things, and also just to upskill and be in community as well. So I've just remembered there's something I did not I did not add here, and I will just share it in the chat when we finish. There's something called an ADP list mentorship program. So this is something I learned when I was switching my careers from software engineering to product. So it was really helpful to just meet with people who have been in the industry for many years. Then you just ask them their experience, you tell them what your passions are, you ask them like what should you do to position yourself. I think that was very important. I had people who would look at my portfolio, look at my CV, and advise me on what I should do. And also, it's just like a mentorship platform, just full of designers and people in product, and it's a really good um, thing. I forgot to put here, but I will just share in the chat afterwards. And then accessibility as well. There are so many resources on it to learn how to implement. There is the accessibility guidelines and also just best practices as well. And I think that is it for me for today. Yeah, I hope this was very useful, very make you guys to think more and love design and see how it is important. And I know it was a lot of information, but I hope the resources that I have shared at the end will help you, since you now know 1, 2, 3 things about this. Yeah, and thank you again for inviting me. um yeah, so I will leave it at that, and then I will just take your questions, and then yeah, I think I will give it back to Ruth and the team. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mercy. If anyone have any question, you can either raise your hand or just type it up on the chat section. Okay, we have one question here from Selam. Please tell us more about how to make it tolerate error.
Mm, sorry, did I hear a question? I don't know. Do we have a question?
Yes, we have a question. The first one is from Selam. Please tell us more about how to make it tolerate error.
Okay. So make it, I think the point was, let me just go to the slide where I was explaining this. Just a second. It was on accessibility, and Yes. Yeah. So how so this is like one of the universal design principles, and you want when people interact with your system or your platform, they're able to minimizing the risk of mistakes and providing users with the opportunity to recover from the errors when they occur. So for example, like when you are like submitting or sending something like a document or something, you need like a prompt asking them like, do you really want to delete this? Because if it's like a thing that if it once it's done, so you need like a prompt for that. And another example would be like a form that highlights the missing or incorrect fields and provides guidance on how to correct them. I don't know if you guys have ever been like interacted with forms before, where you fill a form, but maybe the address just needs numbers, but then when you try to submit, you just get an error, but you don't know what the wrong thing that you did. So a good way or a good practice of this would be first in the field say type only numbers, and then when they submit it they get a like a pop-up that says um what should we say what should it say, like in the address field you put letters, kindly put only numbers, something like that, so that you know you know like what you did wrong, and reduces the like tolerance of error. I don't know if that makes it clear. I hope that helps, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, so I hope that explains it. Yeah, you will get the slides at the end. Yeah, I shared it with the organizer, so you'll get it.
All right. We have another question from Hildana. What are the common
Okay.
mistakes beginners make in UI UX designing that you suggest we should avoid?
I think thinking that you know everything, thinking that you're a really good designer, that you know what the people want. That's a really big mistake that people do. Yeah, and again, going back, we are designing for people, and not it's not about our good design prowess. It's about the people that we're designing for. And I would say another one is not experimenting with different things. So I think when I started out, I used to attend events like this ones, just hear what other designers are doing, what tools they are using, so that I don't learn a tool that is going to be obsolete. I think also another thing is not being open to the possibility of failure. So I think for the first times when I got into design, I was very afraid to show my work. Like I was afraid that people would judge my work and think that I'm not a good designer. But that's all about how you start and how you grow yourself. So we have this WhatsApp group in Nairobi, Kenya, where we just have designers who do some work and just ask for feedback. People will tell them, no, this is not supposed to look like this, and that's how you grow. So I think a mistake would be not valuing, like you're starting from somewhere, so you don't need to be perfect, and having people look into your work which is not perfect can help you grow into becoming a very good designer. So yeah, I think that's what I would answer to that question. And then I see
Okay,
another
great.
question. What's possible I've just seen the other one. What possible standards and direction can be mentioned to be considered when you ideate to a final prototype, which we believe will fix the challenges of our end users, companies, or anyone that we are providing for? Good question. I would say, so for me, if I don't think it's a linear process, I go research only. So for example, there's the website I recommended. It's called the NNG group. It's called the Licensed and Normans group. They're like this big people in UX design, and they have processes or things they have done or projects they have done before, and like they state all their methodology there. So I think you can get inspiration, and it can be a direction or a standard to help you from your ideate until you a final prototype. And then you can do workshops. There are things called design thinking workshop, co-designing workshop. And through this, you can be able to share with other people like what you have. And even if you have this challenge, you can show them like the possibility of these solutions that comes as well. So I think that can be a really good way to do this if it's a whole new thing and you need to find ways of how best you can share with other people. Yeah, so I think that will be my answer. And yes, I can share my LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me over there. And yeah, I think this, I hope everyone learned something. And I hope it was really beneficial for your journey. And I am glad that I got a chance to do this. Thank you, Ruth, for reaching out and inviting me. And all the best in your design journeys. And remember, you're designing for humans, not just users. Yeah, so I think I will end at that if there's nothing else.
I think we have one question left from Abigail.
Okay. Okay, so my question is on how do you balance creativity or the product we are working on being visually appealing with usability or making it user friendly? Um, Good question. And I think I just read something about this other week. So on the Nielsen Normans group website, there is something called usability heuristics. So you can go read more about that, and from that you can see that something can be really creative and out of this world. But again, we're designing for humans, right? And they are our users, and you can't bring a whole new thing. And this, well, it can be a whole new thing that disrupts the market and can be adaptable. But there needs to be a good balance. So in the heuristics, there's like they will give you checkboxes like, is this simple? Then you're like, it's simple. Then you balance the the simplicity and the creativity and the usability as well. So if you again start with the users, it's going to be what they want. And so that's clearly a usability part. And then the user friendly comes from even you interacting with the users to know if it's user friendly. And then creativity, you can also do things. There's something called usability scale, where you ask people if this thing is really usable, and then you'll get a scale from what they give, and then from that you can be able to adjust. And again, as I mentioned, designers, we don't know everything, right? So we design, we experiment and all, and we learn from our users. And so from that, we can over time be able to balance creativity. Yeah, but there are also industries where it's really a creative side, like in the gaming industry, it's just really creativity and the mind-blowing stuff. So it also depends on the industry that you're working on with. Yeah. Yes, I'm also sharing the link to the mentorship link. It's called ADP list. So yeah, I will connect with you guys on LinkedIn, and thank you all. And I hope you had fun, and bye. I don't know if Ruth, you have something else, but I think our time is over. Or someone from
Thank
the
you so much,
organization.
Mercy. It was really fun.
Okay, hi Ida. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Okay, so now I will give the chance to one of our core team members, Gabriela. So you can unmute yourself and speak, please.
Thank you for the chance, and thank you so much, Mercy, for such a rich and practical session. Your insights on basically human centered design basically gave me a whole new lens on approaching product building with empathy and purpose. And I'm very honored to have you as a part of this mentorship series, and hopefully our paths will cross in the future as well. Thank you so much for dedicating your time to this session. And also, thank you so much for everyone who joined us tonight. It's your engagement that keeps the space thrive. And I also have a couple of messages after we let Mercy go too.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Before we close this out, please don't forget to fill out the mandatory registration forms. I'll be sharing it in the chat shortly. Um, Once you register, you'll receive an email with this week's group assignment, and the necessary details will be included as well. You guys will be forming teams on Telegram or any platform that you find convenient. Besides that, please don't forget to stay connected for any updates and great opportunities like these ones. I'll be attaching all of our platforms here. So yeah, see you all next week. Keep building and stay curious. And please also share your projects on LinkedIn or whatever platform, and be sure to tag us as well. It really helps us too. I hope you guys had a great session, and good night from my side.
Thank you, Gabby. Thank you, everyone who joined us. So please make sure to post this on LinkedIn, and please make sure to tag us. Thank you so much for joining. Have a nice night. Bye.